Hey, everybody, this is TJR. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. If not, welcome back. And as is my habit, I'm late to the party on this one here. Um, I haven't talked about comics or comic related films on this channel in a little while, but I think it's time I get back into that again because I know there are some people who specifically joined the channel for that reason. So, the big news last week was that James Gunn announced his 10-year film and TV and video game plans for the DC universe last week. And they're calling it the DC universe now versus the DC extended universe, which I never understood what that meant. Not sure why. I guess they just called it that to differentiate themselves from Marvel. But he went over a slate of all the projects. And everybody's been talking about it. Everybody but me, of course. And I'm not going to go over the slate of projects because if you're watching this video, you already know. You've seen enough videos where people have, talked about that. I'm going to talk about something else in regards to this. And so first and foremost, let me just say the important thing in all of this, regardless of how you feel about the various different projects, like how is this going to work? How is that going to work? The important thing is that he has a plan. You can debate whether these projects are good ideas or not. You can debate how you think they might go, good or bad. But of course, the proof will be in the pudding. What is it we end up seeing on screen? For me, the big question in all of this is, will Warner Brothers let him follow through? And here's why I say this. Back in the day, when Warner Brothers decided they wanted a piece of that Marvel money, they decided to begin their movie franchise with the Green Lantern movie starring Ryan Reynolds. This was going to be their Iron Man #1. And they really, I think, wanted a toe-to-toe comparison with Hal Jordan and Tony Stark. I think they really wanted audiences to react to Hal Jordan in the same way that audiences reacted to Tony Stark. It didn't work out that way, but I think that's what they were hoping for, that audiences would see that character in a very similar way. The film didn't do well, so Warner Brothers got cold feet, and they said, no, this is not our first entry into our franchise for a DC Universe, cinematic universe. Man of Steel is going to be our first entry, so they went with that. Now, when I saw Man of Steel, and I saw the direction that they went with Zack Snyder directing, I thought, this is a bold choice. Going for this much more, how shall I say, serious, heightened reality. Some people think dark, gritty, grim means realistic. I don't. I look at this as heightened reality when I see this in comics. But I thought going in this direction was a very bold move, because if you want to get that Marvel money, you have to appeal to a very large audience. Going in this direction, basically, there's an audience for it. The Christopher Nolan Dark Knight films prove that, but it does exclude a certain amount of people as well. So I thought it was a bold move. And there was supposed to be a Man of Steel 2. There was supposed to be a separate Batman film before either of these two characters would cross each other's paths on the screen. And then around the time that Man of Steel came out, if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm just going off of memory here, Avengers, the first Avengers film came out, either around the time that they were in production or around the time that Man of Steel came out. And when that happened, Warner Brothers saw the money that Marvel was making, and they went into nuclear arms mode. This suddenly became an arms race. They wanted that Avengers money, and they wanted it yesterday. So instead of slowly building up their film franchise the way that Marvel did, they wanted to fast forward straight to Justice League ASAP. So bam, no second Man of Steel film, no first Batman film for this universe. Instead, we went straight to Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman was not a good movie. And how could it be? I don't blame the director. I blame Warner Brothers Studios for asking the director to suddenly compress the entire plan. That film was just trying to pack in too much information into its runtime, too much exposition. It was trying to lay down too much groundwork for future films. There was no room for the characters or the story to breathe. It introduced Wonder Woman and very briefly the other Justice League characters that they were going to use. The film wasn't really about telling a story or building any kind of character arcs, in my opinion. It was just about getting to Justice League as a finish line as quickly as possible. That's what that film felt like to me. There are other things I could say about it, but I won't go there at this time, anyways. My understanding was that they wanted to go immediately from Batman v Superman to Justice League, just boom, right into it. Now, that didn't happen. Instead, they did put out a successful and well-received Wonder Woman movie. And then Suicide Squad, which was a movie that was heavily butchered from the director's original vision. We'll probably never get to know what the film was that he intended. And again, it's because they got cold feet about how Batman v Superman did. It felt to me like they tried to turn it into a very weak attempt to mirror Guardians of the Galaxy. It was their answer to James Gunn's insanely successful launching of Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel, a set of characters that even very serious comic fans were mostly only casually familiar with. And while Justice League was in production, Warner Brothers again got cold feet over the tone that Zack Snyder was taking and changed direction by bringing in Joss Whedon, who I should add used to be a script doctor. And he was told to rewrite the script, do reshoots, and make it look and feel more like a Marvel film, which he did. I know a lot of people, a lot of fans out there like to hate on Whedon over this, that he ruined Zack Snyder's Justice League, but he was just hired to do a job, and he just did the job. They paid him a bucket load of money, which I'm sure he needed because he was going through a divorce at that time. And he just delivered what they asked for. The film couldn't help but be a Frankenstein monster, which it was. Considering all the money they had to spend to do reshoots, they just should have stuck with the original plan, just stay with it. At any rate, though, what happened is what happened. And after that, it just seemed like DC was just throwing whatever at the wall. There would be films like Aquaman, which had some connection to the previous films. And then there would be films like Joker, which had no connection to any of the previous films. And in a way, I kind of thought, that's not a bad direction to take, even though it wasn't intentional. Just let the directors decide, if they want to tie into continuity when they want to and not tie into it when they don't want to. But I think the real problem was the studio, Warner Brothers, being way too reactionary whenever anything didn't go exactly the way they wanted it to go, and deciding, okay, let's change course, let's course correct, and not respecting the visions of the directors who were making their films, be it Snyder with Justice League or Ayers with Suicide Squad. So getting back now to the start of this conversation, the real question is, will Warner Brothers let James Gunn follow through on what he has said he's going to do? Now, James Gunn, he's no dummy. He's worked in this environment with Marvel, and he's seen how it works successfully. And as late as 2022, when asked online if he would take the reins in the DC universe, James Gunn stated that no, he didn't want the job. So what made him change his mind? Well, since making that statement, new management has taken over. And like I said before, he's no dummy. So I have to assume that this new management at Warner Brothers convinced him that whatever vision he has, that he will be allowed to see it through. And I'm just hoping he got that in writing. He's worked for the only company in Hollywood that has been able to pull off this cinematic universe thing. He's proven that he can be successful with both the edgier R-rated stuff and the more general audience stuff, and that he knows how to inject heart and soul into both. So yeah, I think he can pull this off. And I think it's going to be fun to see what happens next. As for me, some of these projects sound more interesting than others, but at the end of the day, it's the final product that matters, and I'll reserve judgment until I see it. I will say that aside from the Superman and the Batman movies, the one I'm most interested in is the Green Lantern TV series. That's the one that intrigues me the most. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. Leave them in the comments. If you like these videos, be sure to give them a like. That helps me a great deal. If you'd like to show a little extra support, there is a super thanks button. And patron supporters do receive exclusive videos not available on this channel. They get them every week. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.